So what we'll do is, we know that if you're having numbness or tingling, and in this case, or burning sensation, what we're trying to do is kind of like focus on the nerves that kind of come out of the neck and in this area. A lot of times when people have like neural irritation, and so according to your MRI, according to your orthopedic test, and according to the neurologic testing that I was just doing on you, the good news is that there's no major issue.
Okay.
So congratulations.
That's good.
But that doesn't neglect the fact that you're still in pain.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're having is what I like to call transient neural irritation, which is like somebody hit the gavel, and I think you are 100% correct. You already hit the nail on the head. You literally just did too much and pissed it off a little bit. So positionally, you feel good in certain positions. Sometimes you're getting better. Sometimes you're getting worse. The question is, like, when? When are we really hurting you? When are we really helping you? A lot of times people have that, like, quote, knot in that low back or that area that is kind of...
it's like right there.
This is usually an irritation to the dorsal scapular nerve.
Okay.
That's why there's, like, some local burning issue into that area. And I can tell you personally, I've had 2 disc herniations. Unfortunately, to tell me, I have chronic pain there every day. But it was also a traumatic type of disc herniation. Okay. So it wasn't like, oh, this came on gradually, like 99% of injuries do.
Yeah.
Mine was a pretty traumatic type of thing. So what I'm saying is that is part of your irritation. I was kind of strumming my finger, as you know. I was like, do you feel it more here? Do you feel it more here? I was kind of like strumming over to see how irritated it is. And I couldn't really irritate it or feel it. I did feel some tenderness within this area, but I also think that when you do the rhomboid stretching, which is probably like this or something like that.
Yeah,
or
it's
like
like
that.
prone with my arm under me.
Yeah, thread the needle.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're doing threading the needle, you're opening up the scapula a little bit, but you're probably pulling a little bit on the nerve. And I personally don't like high intensity stretching. Not because I don't like stretching, I do. I just don't like stretching when a nerve is irritated, because if you think about a nerve, a pissed off, upset, irritated, inflamed nerve doesn't like to be tugged on any further. It doesn't like to be mashed aggressively either. So we have to kind of work very smartly. What I try to do in your neck is I try to take this area and I try to, pull it at each end, and kind of that's where I was doing that, and I was trying to irritate it. Couldn't do that. When I kind of went through the whole brachial plexus and into the arm, into the nerve, what I really was trying to do is really piss it off. I hate to tell you that, but I was trying to piss it off. And then I was testing the ulnar nerve and then the radial nerve when I kind of did that. And in addition, what I do is I depress the scapula to help create neural tension. So I'm sure you have noticed when this thing is really pissed off, your shoulder's probably like this naturally.
Yes. Yep.
This is a natural protective mechanism that literally takes the shoulder and the shoulder girdle. And so if you think about like me trying to pull it down, that irritated area there, if we kind of hike this up, let's just say we hike that scapula up, there's less irritation that's going on through the neck in that area. So you're going to have naturally less neural irritation into that area. The good news is right now I can't really create that. So it's like, what is this then?
Yeah, no, I mean, it feels like a couple of vertebrae are just stuck, that they're not moving normally.
I would highly think, like, if I had to say this in a nutshell, and like, what is it in this little cup here? I would just say it's probably some sort of cervical radiculitis, which is like some sort of neural irritation, but no confirmed disc issue.
Right.
But as you know, and you being in the medical field, you know that the absence of like a positive MRI doesn't mean the absence of symptoms.
Right.
So what we're finding is that we're having transient pain from overexertion, from maybe some discompression that like reabsorbs, but maybe you're just kind of doing that and knocking the nerve from time to time. So that's what I said, transient compression, where it kind of comes and goes, but there's nothing objectively for us to see. I can say you objectively, I wasn't able to irritate it. You know, maybe you had some neural irritation, but the good news is, like, I think that if you do some of the right things and you kind of stop irritating it, it makes it better. So that's where I come in with the baby steps. Is like, baby step 1 is figure out what it is. I think we have a pretty darn good idea what it is. The good news is that here's the good news and the bad news. The good news is that it's hard to figure out what it is, which means it's probably not super inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
The bad news is it's not really super inflamed, so I can't tell you 100% unless you're really irritated, but I already kind of know what that feels like for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the good and the bad news. Baby step number 2 would be like relief of pain.
Yeah.
First aid is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
Is find any position and or movement that relieves your pain and do more of that freaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you say walking makes you feel good, high five, let's walk.
Mm-hmm.
If you say stretching this thing makes it feel better, I'd be probably a little skeptical. But I'd say do this certain stretch or exercise. And then also what you said at the beginning, baby step number 3 is combined with baby step 2, which is avoid triggering activities.
Right.
I am not great at explaining this, but like if you practice first aid and you have a wound, right, and you're probably more versed in this, I wouldn't want to take that bandage off and start digging in there with my fingernail. That probably would negate first aid.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing heavy construction projects at home and you're doing all the right exercises, but you go ahead and trigger it, it's like we're negating the first step and the second step, I mean. So it's like, what's the point? So I think there's a way to get back to healthy lifestyles that are actually still allowing you to still do DIY projects and to still stay active, but without triggering the symptoms. And the thing is, like, if you haven't had results with your past exercises, whatever they may be,
Mm-hmm.
How do we know, like, they're not bad for you, but if they were not triggering?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in terms of your care, what we'll do is we'll do a lot of ART and active release to release some of the tension through that area. I am going to do what I call a dorsal scapular nerve release for you.
Okay.
That one feels usually really freaking good.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to be very gentle and pinpoint specific, so it may take me a while to kind of like wiggle and find that nerve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally going to go on that nerve and then I'm going to go right off of it, and the whole goal of ART is to create some glide and slide so there's less neural irritation, which you kind of know. I personally, when somebody first comes in, I personally mostly work, in this type of case, I mostly work ART before I do any Graston.
Okay.
Not that I don't want to, but I don't want to be strumming across with Graston and scraping across this area right away.
Okay, sure.
So, we'll even probably get into your armpit, into the brachial plexus to work some of the nerve slides,
Okay.
so that you can feel pretty good. And then I'm going to send you home with exercises.
Okay.
This is what I said. My